Everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms: to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Victor E. Frankl: there is a moment in almost every human life when the noise becomes so loud that silence begins to feel unfamiliar. You wake up carrying a weight you cannot explain. Nothing catastrophic may have happened, yet your heart feels restless. Your mind races from one fear to another. You search for certainty in tomorrow while losing touch with today. You ask yourself questions that seem to have no answers. Why do I feel so lost? Why am I anxious even when everything seems fine? Why does happiness feel like something I almost reach but never truly hold? If these questions have ever echoed inside you, then understand this: you are not standing at the end of your journey. You are standing at the doorway of a new understanding. The discomfort you feel is not always a sign that life is falling apart. Sometimes it is a sign that the old version of you can no longer carry the future that is trying to emerge. Most people believe that feeling lost means they have taken a wrong turn. But what if feeling lost is simply the moment before true direction appears? Think about a traveler walking through thick fog. The fog has not erased the road, it has only hidden it from sight. The path still exists, every step still matters. The traveler's fear comes not because the road has disappeared, but because the eyes cannot yet see what the heart must trust. Life often works in exactly the same way. Your vision becomes limited so your inner awareness can become stronger. The world outside becomes uncertain so the world inside finally receives your attention. The greatest struggle is not the circumstances around you. It is the conversation constantly happening within you. Every day, without realizing it, you repeat invisible stories. You tell yourself you are behind. You tell yourself others have figured life out while you are still searching. You tell yourself you are missing something everyone else seems to possess. Slowly, these thoughts stop feeling like opinions and begin feeling like facts. But they are not facts, they are habits. They are mental echoes repeated so often that they begin shaping the reality you experience. Imagine carrying a pair of glasses with dark lenses from childhood without ever taking them off. Everything you see would appear dim. You might believe the world itself lacks color. You would never suspect the problem is not the landscape but the lens. The mind works the same way. If your inner lens is covered with fear, every opportunity looks dangerous. If it is covered with doubt, every possibility appears impossible. If it is covered with stress, even moments of peace become temporary interruptions instead of lasting experiences. You cannot consistently experience a beautiful world through a fearful mind. Many people spend years trying to rearrange their external lives while ignoring the invisible architect building every experience from within. They chase another job, another relationship, another city, another achievement, believing the next destination will finally deliver peace. Yet wherever they go, they carry the same mind. The scenery changes, but the emotional climate remains the same. Anxiety packs its bags with you. Stress sits beside you on every flight. Unhappiness moves into every new home because it was never living in the place. It was living in the perception. This realization is not meant to discourage you. It is meant to liberate you. If your inner world has participated in creating your experience, then your inner world also possesses the power to transform it. That means you are not waiting for life to rescue you. You are awakening to the truth that the greatest force shaping your future has been quietly residing within you all along. Consider how much energy is spent resisting the present moment. You wake up wishing it were Friday. You wish you had made different choices years ago. You worry about conversations that have not happened yet. You rehearse disasters that may never arrive. While your body remains here, your awareness lives somewhere else entirely. This division creates exhaustion. Anxiety is often the result of trying to live in realities that do not yet exist. Peace begins when your awareness returns home. Returning home does not mean escaping responsibility or pretending difficulties are not real. It means recognizing that before you respond to the world, you must first respond to yourself. Every event passes through your consciousness before it becomes your experience. Two people can face the same challenge and emerge completely different because they entered the moment carrying different inner identities. One sees defeat before the battle begins. The other sees growth hidden inside difficulty. The event is the same. Consciousness makes the difference. There is something remarkable about the human imagination that many overlook. It is not merely a tool for fantasy. It is the workshop where identity is quietly formed. Long before your actions change, your self-image changes. Long before your circumstances shift, your assumptions shift. Every great transformation begins in a place invisible to the world. A tree does not appear before the seed exists. Likewise, a peaceful life does not appear before a peaceful consciousness begins taking root. You may have spent years defining yourself by your emotions. You say, I am stressed. I am unhappy. Notice how naturally the identity merges with the feeling. Yet feelings are visitors. They arrive. They stay for a while. Then they leave. But when you call yourself by the name of the visitor, you are knowingly invited to become a permanent resident. What if instead you quietly observed, anxiety is passing through me, but it is not me? That single shift creates space between your true self and your temporary experience. In that space lies freedom. The world constantly encourages you to react. Every notification demands attention. Every headline competes for your emotions. Every opinion tries to define your reality before you have a chance to define it yourself. Without realizing it, many people surrender the authority of their inner world to whatever appears on a screen or enters a conversation. Little by little, they become emotionally controlled by circumstances instead of consciously directing their own awareness. But your peace cannot depend upon a world designed to keep your attention unsettled. Your peace must come from something deeper than changing events. There is an inner place within you untouched by failure, untouched by criticism, untouched by uncertainty. It has been there since the beginning, patiently waiting beneath every fearful thought. Most people search for confidence by collecting proof from the outside. Yet true confidence grows from remembering what has always existed within. You are far more than the anxious voice in your head. You are the awareness listening to that voice. And the listener is always greater than what it hears. Perhaps this is the first time you have considered that your greatest prison has never been your circumstances, but your unconscious agreement with limiting ideas about yourself. If that agreement can be withdrawn, then a new identity can quietly begin taking shape. But this transformation does not happen through force or endless positive thinking. It begins through something much subtler, much more profound, and it is there that our journey must continue. The first step is not to fight your mind, but to understand it. Most people believe they must win a battle against every negative thought that appears, as if peace is something earned after defeating every fear. But have you ever noticed that the harder you try not to think about something, the more power it seems to gain? Resistance often strengthens the very thing you wish to eliminate. Imagine trying to smooth the surface of a lake by striking the water with your hands. Every movement creates more ripples. Yet if you simply become still, the water eventually remembers its natural calm. Your mind is no different. Beneath the turbulence is a quietness that has never disappeared. It has only been disturbed by constant reaction. This is why your attention is one of the most valuable treasures you possess. Wherever your attention rests, your inner world begins to build a home. If you spend your days focusing on lack, your consciousness becomes familiar with lack. If your thoughts continually revolve around failure, rejection, or uncertainty, those emotional patterns begin to feel normal, even when opportunities for joy are standing right before you. The mind does not always distinguish between what is real and what is repeatedly imagined. It responds to the pictures you consistently hold within yourself. Every repeated image becomes an instruction. Every repeated emotion becomes a direction. Slowly, almost invisibly, your life begins to organize itself around the identity you accept as true. Many people unknowingly practice fear with remarkable discipline. They rehearse worst case scenarios every morning before they even leave their bed. They imagine conversations ending badly before they happen. They expect disappointment before opportunity has a chance to arrive. They call this being realistic, but realism without hope becomes another form of limitation. Consider how much creative energy is invested in imagining problems that never occur. Now imagine redirecting even a fraction of that same imagination toward peace, strength, confidence, and possibility. The power has always been there. Only its direction needs to change. There is a quiet law working within every human heart. Whatever you repeatedly accept as your inner truth gradually becomes the atmosphere in which you live. Not because the universe is punishing or rewarding you, but because consciousness naturally seeks consistency. If deep within yourself you believe you are unworthy of happiness, you will unconsciously interpret life through that belief. Compliments will feel suspicious. Success will feel temporary. Love will feel fragile. Your outer experiences become filtered through an invisible expectation. The world begins reflecting not merely what you want, but what you consistently believe yourself to be. This realization may feel uncomfortable at first because it gently removes the habit of blaming everything outside yourself. Yet it also gives you something infinitely more valuable than blame could ever offer. It gives you responsibility. Responsibility is often misunderstood as a burden, but genuine responsibility is freedom. The moment you recognize that your inner state matters, you stop waiting for permission to become peaceful. You stop postponing joy until life behaves exactly as you wish. You begin discovering that peace is not the reward at the end of the journey. It is the way of walking the journey itself. Think back to moments in your life when everything seemed to flow naturally. Perhaps there was a day when conversations felt effortless, opportunities appeared unexpectedly, and your heart felt light without any obvious reason. What changed? The world did not suddenly become perfect. Rather, your inner condition shifted. For a brief moment, you stopped carrying unnecessary resistance. You stopped arguing with reality. You became present enough to allow life to meet you instead of constantly trying to outrun it. Those moments were not accidents. They were glimpses of your natural state. One of the greatest misunderstandings is believing that stress proves importance. Society often celebrates exhaustion as evidence of ambition. People wear anxiety like a badge of honor, convinced that constant pressure means they are working hard enough or caring deeply enough. But a tree does not strain to grow toward the sun. A flower does not become beautiful through panic. The deepest intelligence in nature operates without anxiety. There is effort, certainly. There is movement and discipline. But beneath it all is an extraordinary harmony. You were never designed to create your life through perpetual inner conflict. This does not mean challenges disappear. Every meaningful life includes seasons of uncertainty. There will be unanswered questions. There will be disappointments that cannot be explained immediately. There will be moments when the future feels hidden behind closed doors. But uncertainty itself is not suffering. Much of suffering comes from demanding certainty before taking the next step. Faith is not pretending you know every answer. Faith is continuing to walk even when the entire staircase is not yet visible. Begin noticing the identity that quietly speaks before every decision. When an opportunity appears, what voice rises first? Does it whisper, "People like me never succeed"? Does it insist, "Something will go wrong"? Or does it gently remind you, "I have overcome before, and I will grow again"? These invisible conversations are shaping your future long before your actions become visible. Change the conversation, and your relationship with life begins to change alongside it. Perhaps the most transformative practice is learning to become familiar with the version of yourself that already possesses the peace you seek. Close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself a simple question. If I were no longer controlled by anxiety, how would I breathe? How would I speak? How would I walk into a room? How would I respond to unexpected challenges? Notice that your mind immediately begins forming an image. That image is more important than you realize. It is introducing you to a possibility that has been waiting within you. Do not admire that version of yourself from a distance. Begin becoming acquainted with it. Visit it often in your imagination until it feels less like fantasy and more like home. Every day offers countless opportunities to choose which identity you strengthen. Small moments matter more than dramatic ones. The way you speak to yourself after making a mistake matters. The meaning you assign to delays matters. The thoughts you entertain while waiting in silence matter. Transformation is rarely built through one extraordinary event. It is woven together through ordinary moments lived with extraordinary awareness. As you continue this journey, you may begin noticing subtle shifts. Situations that once overwhelmed you no longer hold the same power. Reactions become responses. Fear loses its urgency. You begin feeling less like a victim of life and more like a conscious participant in it. Yet there remains an even deeper discovery, one that goes beyond managing thoughts and emotions altogether. It concerns the very nature of the self you have believed yourself to be, and once that understanding begins to unfold, the search for lasting peace takes on an entirely new meaning. There comes a moment in every genuine transformation when you realize that the greatest illusion was never the difficult circumstances you faced. The greatest illusion was believing that your identity was permanently shaped by them. For years, perhaps without noticing, you allowed yesterday to introduce you to today. Old disappointments became predictions. Past failures became definitions. Someone else's opinion became your inner voice. Without intending to, you built an invisible prison whose walls were made not of stone, but of memory. And because those walls could not be seen, they felt impossible to escape. Yet the moment you become aware that they were built through repeated identification, you also discover that they can be dismantled through a new awareness. Notice how often people introduce themselves through what has hurt them. They say they are anxious because of childhood experiences. They say they cannot trust because of betrayal. They say they are afraid because life has disappointed them too many times. While these experiences are real and deserve compassion, they are not the final truth about who they are. Pain may explain how you arrived here, but it does not have the authority to decide where you are going. Your history is a chapter, not the author of your life. The mind loves familiarity, even when familiarity brings suffering. This is one of its most surprising habits. If stress has accompanied you for years, peace may initially feel unfamiliar. If worry has been your daily companion, confidence can almost seem unnatural. You may even feel uncomfortable when life begins to improve, because your nervous system has learned to expect struggle. This is why transformation requires patience. You are not only changing your thoughts, you are teaching your entire being to recognize a different way of existing. Imagine entering a room that has been dark for decades. The moment light enters, the darkness does not argue. It does not resist. It simply disappears because darkness has no substance of its own. It is only the absence of light. Fear often behaves the same way. It feels powerful only until awareness enters. The instant you clearly observe a fearful belief, instead of unconsciously obeying it, its control begins to weaken. Awareness is the light that reveals what was previously hidden. Many people spend years asking, how do I become a different person? A wiser question is, what false idea about myself am I willing to release today? Growth is often less about adding something new and more about removing what never truly belonged to you. You do not have to manufacture your worth. You do not have to invent your peace. You do not have to earn your right to feel whole. These qualities are already present beneath the layers of fear, comparison, and self doubt that have accumulated over time. Comparison deserves special attention because it quietly steals joy without announcing its arrival. In a world where every screen displays carefully edited lives, it becomes easy to believe everyone else has discovered a secret that has somehow escaped you. You compare your beginning to someone else's middle. You compare your private struggles to another person's public victories. Yet every comparison pulls your awareness away from the only life you have the power to transform, your own. The moment you stop measuring your journey against someone else's timeline, something remarkable happens. Your energy returns to you. Instead of wondering why another person's garden appears greener, you begin watering your own. There is profound strength in simplicity. The world constantly encourages you to chase more information, more strategies, more techniques, believing the next piece of knowledge will finally solve your inner unrest. But wisdom is not always found in complexity. Sometimes it is found in returning to simple truths that have been overlooked. Breathe consciously. Speak kindly to yourself. Guard the images you repeatedly entertain. Refuse to rehearse failure. Practice gratitude before circumstances demand it. Rest without guilt. Forgive more quickly than your pride prefers. These are not small actions. They are quiet revolutions taking place within consciousness. One of the greatest shifts occurs when you stop asking life to prove that everything will be all right before allowing yourself to feel at peace. Most people make peace conditional. They say, when I earn enough money, I'll relax. When I find the right relationship, I'll feel complete. When my future becomes certain, I'll stop worrying. But peace postponed is peace denied. Life will always present another challenge, another goal, another uncertainty. If your calm depends entirely upon perfect circumstances, it will remain just beyond your reach. Instead, become the person who carries calm into imperfect situations. Then your peace is no longer fragile. It becomes part of your identity. The person you are becoming is shaped less by extraordinary moments than by repeated inner decisions. Every time you refuse to let fear write the next sentence of your story, you become stronger. Every time you replace self condemnation with compassion, you become freer. Every time you choose faith over endless mental rehearsal of disaster, you loosen the grip anxiety has held over your life. These choices may seem invisible to the world, but they are reshaping the foundation upon which your future rests. Do not underestimate the quiet moments when nothing dramatic appears to be happening. Seeds grow underground long before anyone sees the first green shoot breaking through the soil. In the same way, your inner transformation often develops beyond the reach of immediate evidence. There will be days when you wonder whether anything is changing. Continue anyway. The absence of visible results does not mean invisible progress has stopped. Every peaceful thought planted consistently is taking root in ways your eyes cannot yet measure. There is another truth that many overlook. The life you desire is not only waiting for different actions from you, it is waiting for a different version of you to meet it. Opportunities often recognize identity before they recognize effort. Relationships respond to the energy you consistently embody. Decisions become easier when they are made from clarity instead of fear. As your inner world changes, your outer experiences begin responding in ways that once seemed impossible to explain. What once felt like coincidence begins to reveal itself as alignment. And yet there remains one final doorway. Beyond changing thoughts, beyond reshaping identity, beyond learning to quiet anxiety, lies the deepest understanding of all. It is the realization that the peace, purpose, and happiness you have spent so much of your life searching for were never hidden somewhere outside you. They have been patiently waiting beneath every distraction, every fear, and every mistaken belief about who you are. To truly embrace that realization requires one final step, and it is there that everything we have explored begins to come together as one complete truth. There is a beautiful moment that arrives quietly, almost without announcement. It is not marked by fireworks or applause. It does not require the world to suddenly become perfect. It comes when you look at your life with new eyes and realize that the battle you have been fighting was never truly against circumstances. It was against the belief that you were powerless before them. The instant that belief begins to dissolve, something extraordinary awakens within you. You stop waiting for permission to become peaceful. You stop believing that happiness is hidden somewhere in the future. You begin to understand that your greatest transformation was never meant to happen around you. It was always meant to happen within you. For so long, you may have believed that life was happening to you. Every disappointment felt personal. Every delay felt like rejection. Every unexpected challenge seemed like proof that something had gone wrong. But what if life has not been working against you? What if every difficult season has been quietly inviting you to discover a strength that comfort could never reveal? The storms were never sent to convince you that you were weak. They arrived to uncover a resilience you had not yet recognized. Gold is not refined in comfort. A diamond does not discover its brilliance without pressure. Likewise, the deepest parts of your character often emerge only after life asks you to walk through uncertainty. The remarkable truth is that you are not the same person who began listening to these words. Not because your circumstances have already changed, but because awareness itself changes everything. Once you see that your inner world influences the way you experience life, you can never completely return to unconscious living. You begin noticing your thoughts before they become beliefs. You become aware of your emotions without allowing them to define your identity. You recognize fear as a visitor rather than a permanent resident. That awareness is not a small improvement. It is the beginning of genuine freedom. There will still be mornings when uncertainty knocks at your door. There will still be moments when old habits attempt to return. The difference is that you no longer mistake them for your identity. Imagine standing beside a river. Leaves float past on the current. You observe them without jumping into the water to chase every single one. Thoughts are much the same. Some are helpful, some are fearful, some are beautiful, some are painful. You are not required to follow every thought simply because it appears. Wisdom grows the moment you realize that observation is more powerful than automatic reaction. As this understanding deepens, your relationship with time also begins to change. Anxiety almost always pulls you into an imagined future, while regret anchors you to an unchangeable past. Yet your life is never actually lived in either place. It unfolds only in this present moment. The present is where your next decision is made. It is where your next belief is chosen. It is where your next breath is taken. Every meaningful transformation begins here, not someday. Someday is an illusion that keeps people postponing the very life they long to experience. Look closely at nature, and it becomes one of the greatest teachers. The sun rises every morning without seeking applause. Rivers continue flowing around obstacles instead of arguing with them. Seasons never rush one another. Winter does not panic because spring has not yet arrived. Everything unfolds according to its own rhythm. Yet human beings often demand immediate answers, immediate success, immediate certainty. When life moves more slowly than expected, they assume something is wrong. But perhaps delay is not denial. Perhaps growth is happening beneath the surface, preparing you for what your current perspective cannot yet see. You have within you an extraordinary ability to choose the atmosphere of your inner world, regardless of the weather outside. This does not mean denying pain or pretending difficulties do not exist. It means refusing to surrender your deepest self to every changing circumstance. A calm heart can make wise decisions where a fearful mind sees only confusion. A hopeful spirit notices possibilities where despair notices only obstacles. The outer world may influence you, but it does not have to rule you. Imagine meeting yourself 1 year from today. Not a version of yourself whose life became perfect overnight, but someone who faithfully practiced these principles day after day. Someone who learned to pause before reacting. Someone who protected their imagination from constant fear. Someone who no longer introduced themselves by their wounds, but by their growing strength. Someone who replaced endless self-criticism with quiet self-respect. Would that future version of you still face challenges? Certainly. But they would face them differently, because they would no longer be carrying the same inner burden. The greatest miracle is rarely found in dramatic events. It is found in the ordinary person who gradually becomes extraordinary by changing the quality of their consciousness. A single peaceful thought repeated consistently becomes a peaceful attitude. A peaceful attitude becomes a peaceful character. A peaceful character creates a peaceful life. Transformation does not happen in one giant leap. It happens in countless invisible choices that eventually become impossible to ignore. So from this day forward, become the guardian of your inner conversation. Speak to yourself with the same patience you would offer someone you deeply love. Feed your imagination with images worthy of your highest future. Refuse to make fear your advisor. Let gratitude become your daily habit rather than your occasional reaction. Walk with quiet confidence even before the evidence appears. Trust that every loving thought you cultivate is shaping the person you are becoming. One day, perhaps sooner than you expect, you will look back at the season when you felt lost, anxious, stressed, and unhappy. You will realize it was never the end of your story. It was the turning point. It was the place where